Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden. And today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at, I think, 5 different trees on my property and evaluating them for fall maintenance. Now, late fall, early winter, prior to your first frost is a good time to really kind of look at your trees and do some seasonal maintenance. One of the first things I like to do is I like to prune. I like to go in and prune out any branches that I don't think look good. They're rubbing against each other. Maybe they're going into your neighbor's property, whatever. I like to do my pruning. I also like to evaluate the tree for any kind of disease or pests during that time, because pruning it really makes you kind of look at the tree, which is really good. I also like to check any of the watering mechanisms. All of my trees are set up to drip, so we like to evaluate the drip systems. And then finally, in the end, we like to fertilize them. So what we're mainly going to concentrate on today is pruning and fertilizing. So this tree right here is a Ruby Falls Weeping Redbud. It is glorious. It is the main feature of this side garden, which faces west. It's right in the middle of the day, so the sun's straight up right now. And it is lovely in late winter, early spring. It has beautiful pink blooms all over it. And those blooms turn into beautiful kind of burgundy colored leaves. Then the leaves eventually turn green. And then now we are in fall. So the green leaves are now turning a yellow tone. I have a massive kind of bulbous situation of branches going on right here. That is really awkward, and I feel like it's really like choking the tree. Let me bring y'all in closer and show you the nature of these branches. It has like a main trunk, and then it goes up, and then all of these branches kind of spill off and weep down. So it's got this main trunk going, which is really healthy and in good shape. But I've got like this tangle of branches out here. It's really awkward, and it creates this like weird bulbous growth off the side, which I don't particularly like for my Ruby Falls Weeping Redbud. You can see like this weird growth right there. I like it just to have a soft umbrella effect. I quite frequently trim the bottom of mine too, so I can see underneath. And I usually do that a couple of times because it will grow all the way to the ground. Some people like it all the way to the ground. I prefer for a kind of umbrella effect. But with this, I just feel like branches are rubbing together, which creates sores on the bark and can open it to disease. I really just don't like the awkwardness of this shape, because this really is set up to be a more symmetrical design. You can see with the bridal wreath, spireas on either side, and the trees directly between the windows. So it's really supposed to have a more symmetrical look. So we're going to go ahead and prune out some of those branches and thin this out a little bit. Okay, so I've got my Sawzall today. I also use just like big lopper pruners, regular hand pruners. I've used miniature chainsaws before, several different things. I just want to start with this first. And instead of trying to go in there and cut all the way to the back to start off with, I'm going to just start by trimming out the pieces that I think are sticking out really well. So it's easier for me to see where that branch goes all the way back and connects. So we're going to start with this one here. So we're just going to pull it out just like that. And then that already gives me a better look and read. And now I can see that I want to come back to, it looks like it feeds all the way back into this position. Let me see if I can even access it. It's hard because these branches are just so intertwined with one another. Okay, here we are. There we go. And then watch this whole part come out. Just like that. And just like that, look how much we've taken out that kind of weirdness that was there. All right, I'm gonna go through and do some general pruning really taking a look, trying to see where all of this is going. Okay, I think I'm going to get some hand pruners because I don't want to get too brave with the saw and take off too big of a branch. So I just went in the backyard garden. So much destruction from the armadillo, or maybe it's a possum. I don't know what it is. Very defeating. They pulled up my delphinium bed, which sucks because I friggin' love my delphiniums. I think I'm going to have to put down like some chicken wire over the beds with the seedlings to kind of help out with that. So I might, not in today's video, but I might work on that today. All right, just getting back here. Just doing a little trimming, a little thinning out. Needless to say, I think this tree is very happy in its location. It does have drip lines to the bottom of it. Okay. I know this looks super harsh, y'all. It's going to be better for it in the end. So many branches rubbing together, and those can create lots of sores throughout the tree. Right now I'm just going in and kind of evening it up a little bit at the base so it's not so wonky looking. All right. This really cleans it up, allows some more sun, which is great. Strip lines at the bottom look good. And I know that it looks really thin, but something to understand is that now that more light can get through the center of this, you're going to have a lot more coming off of it. In fact, up here, I just have tons and tons of buds on top of these branches, which is really exciting. I have a little bit of scale, which is something that I dealt with on this particular tree. And I do my company City Turf, who I use for my lawn. They also take care of my trees. So I'll just text my guy, whose name happens to be Jeff as well, and let him know. Let me show you what the scale looks like. Okay, you can see the scale. Let me see if I can get it to go in better. See those lumps? They're a little shiny. There's two there, some more there. That is the scale. And got it in a few different locations. So I will let him know. I think it looks good. I know some of y'all are going to be like, what the heck, Amanda? You destroyed it. It's going to be great. It's going to fill in nicely. You also got to realize it's like the third or fourth time I've pruned this baby this year. It is happy in its location, growing absolutely beautiful. And one of the big things is you want to prune your trees, give it at least, a month, at least a few weeks for any of the cuts to scab over prior to your first freeze. We will have a light frost mid-November. We shouldn't have a freeze until, like a real hard freeze, until sometime in December. So we should be good. That looks awesome. Let's go take a look at my crepe myrtle. Okay, so this is my crepe myrtle. It was here, Builder, it's Builder's Grey Crepe Myrtle. It suffers from scale, crepe myrtle scale, pretty badly. A few years ago, I cut it all the way to the base of the ground because it was originally just one tree trunk, and I wanted to create a multi-branch trunk. And a whole bunch came back. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Definitely don't need 7. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna thin it out to 4. I'm gonna really focus on the ones that are most upright, and then the ones that are to the side or over leaning onto the hydrangeas over there, I'm going to remove. And I'm going to use the Sawzall to do that. Okay, that super opens up this area, which is good because I've got some limelight hydrangeas back there that need light. My Persian shield, while it is an annual, eventually it will need light. And now I think that this is a smaller scale, which I don't really want it to be like this big massive thing in there. Originally, the reason I kept 7 branches is because I didn't know which ones I was going to want. These are kind of focused right in the middle. I do like a little bit of an overhang this direction because it helps soften the corner of the house. But I think this will be good to keep it up. Now, it has suffered from spider mites this year and scale. I want to show you a close-up what those look like. Yeah, I like it scaled back. It looks better for me. Okay, so let's look over here. This is Crepe Myrtle scale. It's like white. Sometimes it also like kills outside the bark and turns the bark black. But you can see how unhappy the branches are. So opening it up, allowing it more airflow will actually help a lot on the scale. And then let me show you, you can see the webs from the spider mites. Dealt a lot with that. Now I don't top my Crepe Myrtle. Basically what I do is come spring, I like to come in and prune away anything that looks dead or ragged. But I'm not going to get in there and do that right now. The leaves are all falling anyway. And not because it's the time of the year for them to fall, just because I think the tree is suffering with disease. But yeah, I feel better about that. I think that's a good decision. I didn't plant this Crepe Myrtle here. It came here with the builder's grade. It would not have been my choice. And I didn't think early enough on to remove it before the roots got so massive. I would love to remove it. I would love to put something else here. I think that I would build some kind of obelisk structure for some kind of vine to climb up with instead of having an actual tree or shrub here. I don't know, maybe in future years. I don't have it in me to dig it up because it's just going to be awful. So anyway, we got that trimmed up. And then once again, I will text my guy at City Turf. Oh, that's not, Jeff is not him, Ryan. I will text my guy at City Turf and ask them to take a look and treat the 2 trees that I've seen so far that have scale. So a couple years ago I had, or actually 3 or 4 years ago for my 40th birthday, my parents bought me 2 trees, including a blazing autumn, I think it was a blazing autumn maple that was right here. And we had a massive windstorm come through and it snapped it like a twig, like it was nothing. So we replaced it with this oak. I believe it's a red oak. Way stronger wood. It's doing really good. It's been here 2 years now. So actually this October is its 2nd year that it's been here. And it's looking really good. And while I could prune a few branches, I'm not going to, just because it's a newer tree and I don't want it to expose it to anything difficult. I am looking at some of these ties down here that I think need to be cut. So I might do that real quick. And this has had some frost damage over the years, but you can see that that really needed to be let go. Now there's ones further up. I'm not going to stress about them. I just don't want it. And you can actually see the rimming where it was and causing issues. But it looks okay. It's got drip here. And eventually when it's time to take out this bamboo, I'll just cut the bamboo at the base. I won't try to pull it up and disturb the roots. All right, now I know there's a lot of controversy about staking trees and how you shouldn't stake trees and blah, 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 blah. My theory is you shouldn't stake trees harshly. So like these lines are loose. They're not pulling on the tree. They're really just in place to keep the tree from going too far in any direction. So that's kind of my thoughts. I don't think that your staking should be like incredibly tense. It's just to keep from like a strong wind taking it really far over. So it's not actually holding the tree up right now. Same thing on this side. It's not actually very, very loose, not actually holding the tree up right now. The tree is holding itself up. It's really there just for support in extreme windstorms, which we do get here. We get a lot of what's called microbursts. So wind comes straight down to the ground, and when it hits the ground, it disperses out really hard. And that's what broke the original tree that was here, that maple. Now maple is a much more fragile wood, splinters easily. The oak is way stronger. I wish I had started with the oak in the first place, but here we are. And it's looking really good. The leaves are beautiful. It hasn't started turning yet, but that should be pretty soon in the next few weeks. Okay. Over here is a royal purple smoke tree. Can get up to 15 feet tall. When I planted it, I didn't realize that. Definitely should have studied that more. It's definitely reached its 15-foot potential. And in the spring, we had, once again, a major windstorm come through and kind of pulled this tree forward. So we went back and we cut back a bunch. And the goal really has been to expose the trunk at the base, to have a multi-branch trunk. But we are going into winter. I am starting to get some that are growing quite far forward. And so I would like to trim this back, make some major pruning choices, and take off some of the really taller ones in order to keep it smaller and more contained so that it doesn't catch so much in the wind. The first branch I'm going to take is this front one, because this is my path quite frequently and it's right in the middle of the path. So let's go ahead and take that out. And I've got my pruners to take off these smaller branches here. Just clean a lot of that up. I really like keeping this part open in the center. I think just looks really nice and really adds like some sculptural elements to the garden. Now, my big question is this branch. Let me change the angle so y'all can see it better. This branch, as much as I love it, I think that branch has to come out. I think it leans really far over. It shades an area that needs more sun. And I think that it potentially is what's pulling most of this over. Now, the thing about that is I really wanted 3 branches. 1, 2, 3. So taking this out would leave me with just 2. But I can foster some of these other ones back here to still have a multi-branch look. So even as hard as this is, cut that branch off. It's gonna look rough, y'all. It also interferes, like it's just leaning into the path. So let's try this out. All right, let's take a look. Okay, it looks good. I'm so nervous. It looks good. It fits really well in the garden because it's more of a shallow effect. These branches are closer to the house, which makes it stronger and safer during windstorms. And look how much space that opens up underneath. These are some big branches. All right, I'm just going to do a little bit of hand pruning on a few of these just to keep it a little bit smaller and then check these large ones that are going high. I just want to pull those down and then we should be good to go on this piece. I'm pretty big about using the term, don't get too brave on tree pruning. Because once you start feeling really brave, you can there's a couple of different things. You can take too much off or you can hurt yourself. So it's super important too. I'm going to take this long branch, it's kind of bigger, so I'm going to use a Sawzall. The sap on this tree smells really good. So really the last big one I have is up there. And that definitely cleans it up quite a bit. Two stray ones. Everywhere I cut one of these longer branches, it will branch out into 3, which is kind of cool. Now I don't see any disease, pests on here, maybe a little bit of spider mite damage, but not really. It's fine. A few crossing branches. Clean those up. It looks pretty good though. And this looks good during the winter when it drops all those leaves. It looks really nice because now it really just has such a sculptural element to it now. Once I started exposing the branches underneath. And please know that when I planted this guy like 3 or 4 years ago, he was like this big, right? I think he was planted in 2020. If you want a fast grower. He does have drip irrigation to the base of him. He faces west, but he does get a little bit of shade on the lower portion of the trunk from the fence over here. But really, really beautiful, fun. Gives an interesting color and context to the garden that I don't have in other elements. This has some red color to its leaves, which I really like. The newer leaves are red. As they age, they turn green. And I like to have multiple elements of red, burgundy tones throughout the garden. And I've got 3 main elements of that down the side of this garden, which is really great. The elements are my barberry, my smoke tree, and my Ruby Falls weeping redbud. Okay, that looks good. I actually have one more tree I'm going to show you, and then we're going to make some big cuts on the willow tree. I've been waiting for my husband to do that because it was just more than I could handle. So, but let me show you my other maple tree in the backyard. Okay, so for my 40th birthday, my parents bought me 2 trees. The one was out front, and it has long gone as a maple. And then this guy, which is also a maple, and I think it's like maybe Burgundy wine. I can't recall the name. I'll put it down below. And it's doing okay. Maples actually don't do really great in our area. And I wish I had done more research instead of just picking the pretty tree. And it has definitely suffered, split in some areas because of freeze damage. This is what it is. In the past, what I've done is I've wrapped up these scars. But what I found that because of the nature of my garden, that area, that just forces it to mold. Gets fungus and molds in there. I end up getting a lot of insects hanging out in there during the winter. So I just leave it open. Do I think this tree is going to be here forever and ever? Probably not. Am I going to enjoy it for the time being? Yeah. Am I going to remove it? No, not unless it like totally dies. I don't know. It's been here for almost 4 years. 4 years this fall. It's grown a lot. It's beautiful. I love the shape of the leaves. I love how soft green the leaves are when they're first coming out in the spring. I love when they get this kind of browning on them, and then eventually they'll get a reddish burgundy color and fall to the ground. But I still love it. Was it the right tree? No, I don't think it was. Is that a learning lesson for me? Yeah. Is it an expensive learning lesson? Absolutely. Very expensive learning lesson. If I were to do it again, I would put an oak. Probably put an oak here. Or I might spend a little bit more and get a Chinese pistache, but that gets really big. I need something that is a slow grower. That is not going to be a big deal for like 20, 25 years. That's what I need. So anyway, Chinese pistache can actually grow pretty fast. And it would really shade a large portion of the garden, where this one doesn't shade as much as you would think. But I really don't see any need for trimming, so I'm not going to mess with it, especially because it's trying to heal itself right there. Basically, it has a boo-boo. This guy does not get spider mites, which is really, really nice. The leaves are pretty easy to clean up. Anyway, we'll see as it continues going. I mean, it has the protection of the backyard, which I think has helped protect it from a lot of windstorms, which is perhaps why it hasn't snapped, being that maples are more brittle trees. But anyway, eventually I need to put some protection around the base because I do think that my lawn crew nicks the bottom of the trunk, which is not great and not healthy for it. Eventually this should be a sitting area. I want to bring the new garden around, and I want to build a custom bench to go around this tree that I can sit here and look at the gardens over in that direction. Anyway, this one looks good. So next on the list is the weeping willow. Okay, here's the weeping willow. It is the oldest tree on my property with the exception of that crepe myrtle. When I moved in here, they had some oak here that dropped acorns, and I was like, I am not cleaning acorns for the next several decades of my life, and I'm not going to dig up saplings everywhere. Did not want to do that. So we ripped that out pretty quick, and we chose to put in a weeping willow here because we have massive drainage issues in this area. So the weeping willow is very happy. Now, we have since fixed those drainage issues, and I do see some of the roots coming to the surface on the willow, which means I probably need to up my water gain back here, adding additional drip lines to it. Eventually, this back area and all the way around the willow is going to be a shade garden, which will be extremely beneficial to the willow because it will provide more water at the base. I'll have additional drip lines running through here and such. So, but I've been very happy with it. A few things we've struggled with, some borers, willow borers. It's a very happy tree. I think it's like 7 years old, and it was like a stick. I'll try to find a picture of it when we first planted it. I don't know if I have one when we first planted it, but I certainly have one like a year or two after, and it's tiny. So anyway, there are a couple of branches. I think I can get this branch by myself, but all the other branches are up high, and so I'm going to need my husband's help with that. But let's go ahead and see if we can take out this one right here. Okay, so this branch, I've actually taken off most of the stuff at the end of it, so it's not as big as it may look. I'm actually going to start with a larger branch. I like to take a cut from underneath. It's just awkward to do that. So I'm going to make a cut from underneath first. And I really just do that so that when I come from the top, it doesn't like splinter. And then it makes more of a flat surface as opposed to like all broken and splintered and such. So the other one I'm wanting to remove is awkward. It's this one right here. Comes over and it crosses over this other bigger branch. And I don't want there to be a buildup in disease here. And then up higher, it crosses and goes over into my neighbor's yard. So I think by removing it, even though it's a massive branch, I think that'll be extremely helpful for the tree in the future. But I worry about making a cut here because basically I'm, creating a sore on the tree right there, which is where this other branch comes out. I think it'll be okay as long as I give it enough time to kind of heal up. We might end up patching that one. I'm not sure. I got to think on it. But we have to wait to do this one until Jeff gets home because I don't want to hurt myself. No, I don't want to go up with the sawzall. I'm not going to be able to make the higher cut. I'm going to have to cut here. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so that really clears it up, opens it up quite a bit, and now I don't have anything hanging over on my neighbor's fence. It's definitely the way to go. All right, so let me show you the fertilizer we're going to be using. Okay, we're going to use Vigoro Tree Shrub and Evergreen fertilizer. What you want is, this one's a 16-4-8. You want a bigger first number, and definitely want something that's slow release, which works a ton better. And basically, I'm just taking handfuls and just coming across like this. I'm not super picky on how I go about applying the fertilizer, you can apply these. It has directions, so if you want to be really exact, you totally can. I like to go out a distance of about 6 feet all the way around. And this bag usually lasts me like an application for my trees in the fall and an application in early spring. Okay, happy to have that done. So the main things I focus on with my trees is pruning. While I'm pruning, I'm looking for disease and pest issues, and then making sure I fertilize, and then also making sure that I check for the water lines to make sure everything's working well at the base of the trees. And everything is in really good shape. Had 2 trees that are suffering from some scale. It's not real bad, but enough that I do want to point it out, and so I'll have my lawn crew treat that and take care of it. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It was a lot of work. I hauled all those branches away to my friend's property who's down the street and added them to his burn pile, and we will have a big bonfire sometime in January or February, which will be really fun. All right, you all, as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow my channel so much. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop an emoji below letting me know you made it to the end of the video and that you say hi. And be sure to check me out on my social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.